So I'll just, I guess we'll hang tight to let a few more folks jump in. I see folks are jumping in, so we'll let it kind of speed up and then die down. So for those that are joining us, welcome. You're in the right place here if you're at the Alumni Conversations Talk. I'm the host, Jason Barquero, and we'll introduce our guest here, Cerys, in just a moment to let folks jump in. And just a quick reminder for those of you in attendance, if you have questions at any time during the talk, feel free to either you can put them in the chat section, or you can also enter them in the Q&A, and we'll make sure to get to those pretty quickly. Just hang tight. If we don't read those out or answer that right away, we're not ignoring it. We're just going through our talk here, and we'll get to those questions in a sec. We'll give it about one more minute, and then we'll go ahead and jump right in. All right, well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. So I'll officially introduce myself for those of you that don't know me. Jason Barquero. I am an alum of Cerritos College from way back when, and also your host of the Alumni Conversations here. So welcome to another installment of our Alumni Conversations. I want to jump in and introduce our guest today. And so our guest is Cerys Rotondo, and she is with us all the way from Berkeley, and we'll tell you why in a little bit. And so as a very proud Cerritos College alumna, I should say. And so a little bit about Cerys. I want to go ahead and read her bio just to kind of get us going. And then we're going to dive right into really, I think today's topic overall, the theme is really talking about social justice and also activism. And for those of you that are students or even alums that want to get more involved, I think we'll get a lot of great information on how Cerys got started and kind of how it led her to where she's at right now. And so Cerys Rotondo is a recent graduate, so she just finished here in 2021 at Cerritos College. And of course, she's well known in our community for her activism and civic engagement. Cerys is a political and community organizer. As a first generation and low income student, she is passionate about building the community and advocating for the marginalized, from organizing a Black Lives Matter protest that was recognized by the LA Times, to saving her city crossing guards and implementing an equity officer within her childhood school district. Impressive. Cerys believes civic engagement in the micro is essential in the macro change. After obtaining her AA in political science and African American studies this past spring, congratulations, she will be continuing her education at UC Berkeley, where she is also continuing her political passions by helping with a congressional campaign. There's more that I could read here, but we'll leave some of that as an element of surprise so we can talk about that. Cerys, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. First and foremost, congratulations on completing and graduating and moving on, and congratulations on your acceptance to UC Berkeley. And that's where you're at now, as you're ready to start classes in about a month. I think we were just chatting about that right before we came on live. So tell us first, before we dive into your background and all this great stuff we're going to talk about, why Berkeley?
Why Berkeley? Oh, wow. I remember I visited the campus like 2 years ago, my senior year of high school, and I was just like, I wish I could go here, but I know it's hard. Like, it would just be so cool to be here. I love the environment, like the trees, the greenery, and like the small town college environment that they have. And the more that I looked into it, like they have a historic activism background that was really cool, and I wanted to be a part of that. And I feel like Cerritos College really gave me that opportunity to come here, which has been amazing.
When you went in high school to visit, was it part of a program or a group, or did you just go up there with family or friends, or what led you to Berkeley?
Yeah, I just went to visit my sister. She goes to San Jose State University, and she was like, "I feel like you would really love the campus." And so we all went together with my mom, and I was like, "I really do love it here, but it's like it's rigorous, like it's hard to get in, and it's expensive." And then I just went to Cerritos College for that financial sake, and it ended up
Sure.
working out.
Well, that's great. We're glad that it did work out for you and you're there now. I know that can seem like forever, but really quickly, how important do you think that was to have that experience, right? To go, feel, smell, be a part of UC Berkeley as a senior in high school to keep you motivated while you're during your time at Cerritos?
Yeah, greatly important, because it's like something to work towards and make you excited, like this could be a possibility. Um, I wasn't even sure if I'd get in, you just never know, but I was just kind of like, whatever happens, whatever's meant to be will
Yeah.
happen.
So you end up going to Cerritos, and you're at Cerritos just like I did. Sounds like you had a fabulous time, learned a lot, were engaged on campus. And so tell us a little bit about that, about your experience at Cerritos, your first year, your second year, kind of what did that look like? And walk us through your engagement and choosing a major and all that stuff in your first year.
Yeah, well, like initially, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was like, I'll just do nursing because, like, my mom, she's Filipina, she's in the nursing field, and that's like usually what's wanted for their children to get into the medical field. And I was like, I'll just do that. But then I've always loved art, and one way that I explored that is through film. And I actually got a scholarship with the National Coalition Against Censorship. Um, and through that, I was like, maybe I could just explore this even more and do like a double major with that and political science, because I was interested in, initially, I was really into like environmental justice. And so I feel like political science encapsulated that. And I wanted to do both of them, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to commit to. I was still filling things out. And so when I did that, I just kept learning and stuff. But once I started getting more involved within my community, I saw that. And after the Black Lives Matter rise last summer, I saw that Cerritos College implemented the Africana Studies program. And then that's when I changed my major to political science and Africana Studies. And I feel like that's where I learned the most, through that major.
So one part I didn't read here was about your short film that you just talked about, that you directed, you wrote, you produced, titled "I Am a Man." Tell us a little bit about that. When did you get started with that project, and kind of talk to us a little bit about it?
Yeah, it was my senior year of high school. I was looking into scholarships for school, and I think I was looking for film one specifically because I loved like putting little clips together from memories to look back on them, and I wanted to try and do something different. And I forgot how I got into like specifically, like I think it was like through toxic masculinity that I was like, I want to shine light on the issue of how men also experience sexual harassment, and just like bringing light to those statistics and the people affected by that.
And I think for those listening, I think especially if we have any students on here listening, is getting I think started to do a short film in your senior year in high school. That's bold, right? And I'm sure it's a lot of work. It's no matter how long the film or short the film is. And so, what message would you have for someone that wants to get involved and really get their creative juices going and create something like this?
Yeah, I think what helped me is I like making storyboards. You also learn that through like the core film classes, like drawing out or like writing out how you're gonna do each scene, how you're gonna film it. And I remember starting out my film with writing a poem, and then I like to edit to the words or like to the music that's happening. So those are like some little creative things that I like to do.
Do you see yourself continuing to do filmmaking in the future? Maybe not as your, I don't know, your would say your primary career source, but something as part of your activism, maybe in communicating with the community through film or through art. Is that something you're also looking forward to doing?
Definitely. I think it's so cool that I found a way to put them together. I mean, historically, people have done it, but when I discovered that I could do them both, it was like really cool for me, and I had an outlet to be creative but still like informative about it. So I know like right now on the congressional campaign that I'm working on, I helped make the launching video. So that was a cool way to bring back my film skills. And I also bring back like the creative side through like infographics and stuff like that.
Which congressional campaign are you a part of?
No, Jason.
Oh, I'm sorry, but we're going to skip that a little bit. I know we can't. Let's switch gears a little bit. And so with the Black Lives Matter movement, I know you organized a protest. And so talk to us a little bit about that. Was that your first protest, or when did you first get involved in that way and actually activating?
My first protest ever was in 2019. It was an environmental one with, you know how Greta Thunberg, she's been doing like strikes every Friday. And so there was a worldwide one, and I went to LA Union Square, and that was my first protest for the environment. Again, back to my roots. And so prior to my the protest that I organized, I actually only went to one protest, which was like pretty scary. Like looking back, I can't believe I did that. But I wanted to bring the community together because after the consecutive deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd, like it was just, I'm sure like everyone was just feeling the weight of it and wanting a way to do something. And whenever I looked into protests around the area, they were always in the main cities like Los Angeles or Long Beach. And I was wondering, like, why don't we have them here in the suburbs? You know, why aren't we civically active and out there, you know, showing our support? And so then I was like, me and a friend actually from Cerritos College, we just thought, oh, let's just collect some money on the side of the street and then donate it to an organization to help them out directly fighting for racial justice. But then as we put out a poster, like it just started getting a lot of traction, and it was being reposted on a lot of sites. And I know some people were like scared about it, but other people, they were really supportive. And eventually the Santa Fe Highway Patrol reached out, and they were able to help us like be safe about protesting on the street and stuff, which made me feel a little better about it. But then it just ended up being really good. A lot of people came out, and there was great support, and we had an open forum, which like was the best part because we were able to hear direct perspectives from our community and how they've been feeling and the experiences that they've had.
How scary was it for you? And what was the scariest part as you were getting started?
The scariest part, it was, I mean, mainly Facebook. They were making me scared because they were like calling us Antifa and like, yeah, they were making it seem like there was going to be looting, and I was afraid of like arrests and stuff. But it ended up being fine. I know everyone has their own way of protest, and it's totally fine, but I was still like I was very new to activism, and I didn't know what to expect. So yeah.
No, and that's why I asked, right? Because I think all activists had to have started at some point, right, at a very young age, I'm sure. And it's when you do something like that and you get involved like that, when I talk to folks, it gives a little bit of anxiety, right? If you haven't done something like that or even participated before. And I'm sure, and I mean, I would imagine, obviously, activating today and protesting today than what it was 30, 40 years ago, or even 15 years ago when social media wasn't around, is very different, right? And so there's pros and cons to that, right? It sounds like you're able to activate quicker and get people together quicker through social media. I mean, like you put out a posting and folks, the communication gets out. And we've seen the difference that does around the world in other countries as well, right? That where people are oppressed, but because of social media, they can put their word out. At the same time, I would imagine you have to be a little bit thick-skinned also, because folks are folks on social media, right? And they're going to say some not so very nice things. I mean, did you encounter some of that, and where some of the feedback or things that people were saying maybe were, put you in a position that, made you feel uncomfortable?
Yeah, there was also a time when like my family was even saying like, don't do it, like you're gonna get arrested. And like even my own mom, she was like pretty upset about it. They like, like in Asian culture, we're not supposed to be like out there and like loud about things. We were supposed to follow the rules and stay in our lane. So it was like very different for my mom to see that coming from the Philippines, and it caused her some fear as well. But yeah, I mean, even with some posts that I have, sometimes I do get like some backlash, like just people from the other side saying stuff, but I don't know, you just do what you can. Hopefully you plant some seeds.
Well, you touched on something I was going to ask about your family or your parents and how they felt, right? Because a lot of our parents, if they themselves, unless they themselves participated in protests back in their time, it's hard for them to understand why we would get involved and right and be so courageous and bold, although they may not see it as courageous and bold right at the moment. Did it sounds like you told your parents, because some folks I know won't even tell their parents, but you were honest, you were open with them. Was it always that way from the beginning, or did they find out in a different way, or after you did talk to them and say, hey, this is something that I'm very passionate about, did they support immediately, or how did that conversation come about, and when did they jump on board to support you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel if we go back to like the very beginning when I was like when I changed my whole diet to veganism, like my mom was like, what is this? You're going to be deficient in nutrients, you know what I mean? But it was just something that I was really passionate, and I knew it was like for the better good, in terms of just like eliminating greenhouse gases and those environmental effects. And even for the protests, I don't think I was like fully honest about it, because I knew that the way she was going to react, and I didn't want her to like hold me back in some way, because I still felt like that longing of like it was just something that I had to do and I wanted to do. But yeah, as I go to more protests, like sometimes my mom comes now, and she's a little more supportive about it, just always like, just be careful,
Yeah. Switching gears a little bit, I have here, obviously, you saved your city's crossing guards. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, super cool. So that was like one of the very first things that I've did within my direct city. So during like the George Floyd death and the protests, so after I held a protest, more people were holding protests in this city, which was so cool. And I ended up going to this visual with it. I was like right by the Cerritos library. And after, I was just talking with the community and was able to meet people who were like consistently active in city council and school board. And I met someone, she was like my mentor for a while, and a friend, Emily, and she was just telling me about like city council and how they were trying to essentially defund the crossing guards, because they didn't want that financial hinder because of the COVID that was happening. And so we worked together. I created a petition, and it ended up getting 1,000 signatures, or over 1,000 signatures. And with so much community support, like during the city council meeting, the first thing they said, or the first thing they did, was unanimously voted to keep the crossing guards, which was really cool.
That's great. That's such an achievement. It's a big deal to the community when you do something like that. So I'm sure your community was very proud. Again, if you have any questions, if you want to put them on the chat or on the Q&A, feel free to do so. Cerys, and we'll go ahead and read those out loud. How would you say, Cerys, for students out there, how can a student change the world? You often hear, a student want to say, I want to make a big difference. I want to change the world. I want to change my community. Where would they start? Where would someone start? Where would you lead them to?
Yeah, if someone were to say like, I want to change the world, then I'd say you got to start right in your city, right in your environment, in your area. it's like so important for us to get involved with our communities, because that's where the direct change happens for you and the people around you. And I feel like the best way to start would just be to show up to the local meetings, like your city council meetings, the school board meetings, like hear what they say, contribute, share your opinions during the public comments. It really does make a difference. And just being active and sharing your voice, and being active with your friends, encouraging them to speak as well.
Yeah, and who or what would you say determines the need for activism, like for you in particular?
Basically, just anyone who is not being cared for, or who needs more resources, who needs additional help.
Yeah, no, I think that's key. I think where you see that there's need, right, for people to be cared for, and that's where I think would provoke someone to say, hey, I want to get involved and do that. In my notes here, you also were instrumental in implementing an equity officer at your school district, your childhood school district. So talk a little bit about that. Like, how did you get involved with that, and what inspired you to do this work?
Yeah, again, like my mentor, Emily, she's just like super involved, and what really helped me along the way to understand how things operated and to understand each official and how they worked, just the logistics of everything. And she, with that, an equity officer was really important for the district, because it just determines who will get the additional support. Like I said, sometimes some areas of the district are neglected, or they're not given as much as they need in order to be at the same level as other people because of their socioeconomic background. And so that was like the main goal of the equity officer, and also to respond to the racial complaints that students were experiencing. The students held a protest in front of the school district, sharing their experiences at school of racism within their schools. And so I think, yeah, it was definitely important to have an equity officer to attend to those concerns.
Fantastic. Going back to your time at Cerritos, which wasn't too long ago, of course, but what this is your opportunity to give them a shout out. What professors or administrators, and who on campus would you say, really had the most positive influence in your Cerritos College career?
I love this question so much. I love recommending classes. So my very first class that I took was Political Science 101 with Professor Mullins. He's my favorite political science professor. I also love Abazue, so sweet. But I feel like he really encouraged me. He was like a keystone where I was like, I want to stick with this. The way that he explained things just helped me to understand. And like, politics isn't always understandable for people, and the way that he explained it was graspable or within reach. And I love that. In terms of like racial justice, systemic racism, I loved Minorities in America. I took that with Professor Acosta. Amazing. I love that. Minorities in America, I think that was by far my favorite class at Cerritos College. And then I also loved Professor Melton. What was that? I think it was African American history. That was very thorough and great.
Awesome. And so on that also, what leaders that we might recognize or might know in the community do you admire the most? And maybe, who are some of your heroes that inspire you?
I love Fred Hampton. If you watched this movie, Jesus and the Black Messiah, I believe. Yeah, I love that movie so much. A Black Panther, and like the Black Panthers were very involved in the community, helped give lunch or breakfast to kids, and helped a lot of those issues. So he's definitely someone that I look up to. And some current congresswomen, Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, AOC, Bernie. Love them all.
Yeah. So what's next for you? Where do you see, any projects that you're working on currently right now? And I know obviously, like we mentioned before, you're working with a congressional campaign, which I know you can't talk about, so I apologize. But what else are you involved with, and kind of where do you see here in the next year for you now at Berkeley? And are there some, you give us a teaser, there's some issues and topics that you see out there that you want to really sink your teeth into and engage?
Yeah, I actually live down the street from this park called People's Park, where there's a houseless community and they're very active. And I feel like that would be something that I'd want to get into. Like housing insecurity is a big issue within America. And so I think it's so important, so important to center those voices and to advocate for them. So that's one thing that I'm interested in getting involved in. Also into animal rights advocacy as well. I know there's an organization here. I've also been working with California Act Abolition, California Coalition Act Abolition Program, something like that, sorry. But a smaller organization Project No New Slaves is with the coalition. So recently we went to the Capitol where we advocated for ACA 3 as well as just the overall removal of the slavery clause within the 13th Amendment federally, both statewide and federally. So I'm definitely involved also in prison reform and abolition.
Will you have a need for, and this is for folks that are out there that maybe know someone that may want to volunteer or intern or something of that nature, can they contact you if they want to get involved? I know that you're up in Berkeley, but I'm sure virtually there are ways for folks to help from a distance.
Yeah, if anyone is interested in anything, you could totally contact me, and even if I don't know, I'll help you do some research to find something and get plugged in, because I definitely think it's so important and there's needed help in every sector, even if it's like something that you don't think needs like political activation, it probably does.
That's a good point. And so on that note, would you say, because you mentioned research, if someone out there wants to get engaged and get involved, do you have any recommendations for websites or resources where people can look for, organizations and how to get involved?
Yeah, I think Facebook groups have good stuff. You could also just do a simple Google search, and once you find one that you like, find them on Instagram, follow them, and look at their like recommended ones or see which ones are similar to that. So then you could see like a whole group of smaller organizations, because sometimes it's not always easy to find, but I feel like going on social media helps a lot.
Again, if you have any questions for Cerys, now would be a good time, as we're getting kind of close to kind of wrapping up a little bit. So if you want to put that in the chat or the Q&A, feel free to do so. And we'll go ahead and read those questions out loud. Cerys, kind of giving you, what are some final takeaways here that you have for any of our alumni or students, just in general? This is your opportunity to kind of, pitch, getting involved and how to get involved in their community.
Yeah, well, it's when you get involved, it's really you just feel so many emotions. Like you'll have like the greatest drive to just keep going, work until 4 a.m. But then you'll also have times when you just want to stop and stay in bed. It's like a total up and down thing, but it's totally normal. This is like a long run thing. These issues aren't going to be solved within a day. So that's why consistency is very key. And another key thing is to take care of yourself, rest, eat the right amount of food, because I feel like a lot of the times when we're caring so much for other people, we could forget to care for ourselves and our own body to help us along the way.
I think that's great advice, because I think that self-care piece is huge, even for current students, right? To kind of make sure you power through what could be very stressful times during finals or midterms and all these things going on. And someone like yourself was also engaged outside of the classroom, also, I'm sure. So, well, Cerys, this is great. I want to congratulate you once again on your transfer to UC Berkeley. Wish you the best of luck. Also up there, and know that from all of us and kind of on behalf of the Alumni Council, we're very proud to have you on here, and we hope to continue to do that. We feature some great alumni who've been, have been out in the industry and doing some great things for some years now, and then we also love to bring in our fabulous alumni who just, as I like to say, just walked off the stage and just graduated, and you're one of them. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Say, unless you have any questions, just a quick reminder, I know that we have on August 12th, we will have, I think I could announce that already. Do we have that, Matthew, confirmed for August 12th?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Yeah, so August 12th will be our next alumni conversation with Alumni Council member Mazen Nabulsi. So same time, 6 o'clock on the 12th, so make sure you join us for that. And I know that we'll have during the alumni journeys also going on this month with featured engineer Antonio Prieto, class of 98, who's also going to be with us. That should be exciting as we talk to him about his engineering background with Northrop Grumman. And so we have a lot going on there and some other programming also towards the end of August. So with that, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Cerys, once again. We appreciate it. We will be posting this up at YouTube at some point on the YouTube channel where all of our other alumni conversations are hosted. So you can always share it there with other folks and go back and watch the interviews. So have a good evening.